That was the best state of play of all time. I am completely stunned. I literally cannot sit down right now. That is how hyped I am because we saw a bunch of raw gameplay. We got release dates. We saw the Resident Evil 4 remake. We saw some new stuff about Final Fantasy XVI. It was back-to-back amazing bangers. E3 may be dead, but PlayStation is very much alive. Let's talk about the goods and the bads. What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here. Now, normally when I film my videos, I do it on this fancy green screen, but right now I'm just so hyped, I have to stand on my feet. Let's start, of course, with the piece de la resistance. They opened with the Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, I've talked a lot about the leaks and stuff on this channel because not only am I a huge fan of Resident Evil, but RE4 specifically, a lot of people consider it to be the best game ever made. And for mostly, that's because it's just so spooky and it was just so action-packed. But a lot of the rumors were saying that Capcom wanted to make it more terrifying in the remake. They didn't want to just do every single beat a second time. They wanted to try and change things up so you wouldn't just compare it directly to the still great original. Resident Evil 4 Remake looks so freaking terrifying. The entire trailer is super shrouded in darkness. It looks like they're leaning more into the idea that, like, Leon is messed up from the Raccoon City survival situation. Like, he goes straight from disaster to disaster to disaster. Leon may wear a nice frilly jacket, but that man is not okay, and now we're getting a chance to see that. I am so excited, and also that's going to apparently have PlayStation VR support. Now, a bunch of this press conference focused a lot on the PlayStation VR2 and just in general the idea of it. I didn't see any flashes of the headset or the new controllers or price tag, but pretty much every game they showed for the first half was a great trailer and then it announcing that it was a PlayStation VR title, including Resident Evil Village is currently making, along with the DLC that's coming to Resident Evil Village, they're making a full PlayStation VR version of the game, so you can play it all completely in first person, so if you accidentally stumble into some booba, well, now you know what's up. Next, they showed Walking Dead Retribution, which, even as a non-Walking Dead fan, this game seemed pretty great. It just seemed like a good excuse to walk around and deal with some very heavy shamblers. But also, we're starting to get a glance that PlayStation VR2 seems like it's going to have very good controls. Like, the combat first person, bashing people in the face, trying to rip off somebody's skin and stuff like that. It seems very, very responsive. Which brings me to Horizon Call of the Mountain. Now, when they first showed Call of the Mountain, I wasn't super on board with it. While I am a gigantic fanboy for the Horizon series, something about this just didn't it didn't wow me. Well, now they finally showed us more of the gameplay, and for this game being completely PlayStation VR2 based, maybe even PlayStation VR2 exclusive, which I think it is, it seems like it's still going to be the full-blown experience of Horizon. Still getting to parkour, still getting to hunt robot dinosaurs, still getting to have that epic journey that we're used to in freaking Horizon, but now in first person, and I'm kind of impressed with just how much they managed to nail the aesthetic and tone while in such a different viewpoint. Now we have to talk about Callisto Protocol. Oh my gosh! Do you ever have somebody just hit you with a game that you didn't even know that you were supposed to be hyped about? So Callisto Protocol, I believe that this is by the people that originally invented Dead Space. And it just looks like Dead Space 4. It looks spooky and goofy. It's got body horror. It's got crazy people stuck on spaceships dealing with monsters that are way too overpowered and just not enough bullets. The screenshots do not do it justice. This looks utterly terrifying, and it's coming out December 2nd. I am so glad that so many of these games are coming out this year because it feels like the early part of 2022 was a little bit quiet. I'm glad that we're finally ramping up and getting to the juicy stuff. Now, let's talk about Stray. Let's try and just calm down for a bit. Stray is a cute little game with a cute little cat going on a cute little adventure, seemingly in a city where everybody else is a robot. While you are this adorable cat, everybody else is going beep boop in the night. Now, this is obviously a tiny little indie game, but a lot of people have been excited about it, not just if you're a cat person, but it does seem like an interesting style of game with something that doesn't seem to have any combat. It is just parkour, feline exploration with a story on top. Now, they announced not not only is it coming out on July 18th, but additionally, apparently, the game is very much done. It's going to be included in PlayStation Plus. So if you get the subscription plan where you get like the games, not just the online, the new PlayStation Plus tier, this is just going to be included in it, which is a pretty interesting win. Speaking of victory, though, let's talk about Street Fighter VI. Capcom clearly showed up in a big way, so Street Fighter VI, holy heck, this looks like it's trying to go back to the roots of classic Street Fighter. Like, watching the trailer and the gameplay they displayed today, it really reminded me a lot of Street Fighter 2. And what I mean is the fact that it had much more colorful art style, very crazy, like cartoonish effects to the fists and the impacts. From some of the trailers, it does seem like it's possibly going to have like an adventure mode, which I'd be a big fan of. I mean, this seems really, really neat. They did show some tiny indie games here in the middle that honestly, I just didn't care as much about. There was like a blue lady trying to go on some big epic quest. Maybe when we see more of that, I'll be more hyped. Tunic is coming to PlayStation 5. There was an indie game about writing letters to the future, I think. You know, that stuff's fine, but I was there for the big crazy hits. And boy, did they close out with one that melted my freaking brain. Let's talk about Final Fantasy XVI. Now, everything about Final Fantasy XVI is an utter masterpiece. It involves Yoshi P, the man who arguably saved current-day Final Fantasy. Yoshi P began this very extended gameplay look with a short message where he said something that really stuck with me. I wrote it down here on my notes. He said, "The goal of Final Fantasy XVI is to bring you a little bit of happiness in the dark times. The point of this game is not just escapism, it's to create a world that is so realistic, that is so fun, that is so bright, you want to participate even on your bad days," which to me, that sounds epic, especially because they followed up with actual gameplay. Actual scenes of real combat, real boss fights, just insanity. I'm actually losing my mind. I'm just taking a breath here. So, Final Fantasy XVI seems to be based on the idea that magic has a cost. It seems like in this game that there's some sort of weird thing that's happening where they said that magic gives you power, but eventually it breaks you down. It remakes your body. They even showed people seemingly turning into gigantic monsters. Now, what I found interesting is that the guy, I think, who designed the Devil May Cry combat way back in the day for Capcom is working on this game, and it's very, very apparent. Combat is insanely quick. You're flipping around to the point at which you're blurry, casting magic, switching weapons, unleashing some pure freaking bloodshed in every single direction. I love what we saw. But what hit me additionally is they said it's coming summer 2023, which I'm happy about. But additionally, what kind of was fascinating is they ended the trailer by showing off a bunch of the classic summons we know, like Ifrit and Shiva and Bahamut and stuff like that, but they almost introduced them like a cast of characters. They flashed up their faces and gave them little title cards individually, and this felt like more than just a nostalgia trip. It felt like they were trying to tell us that the characters of this game are going to be battling over the summons. This is about war, this is about chaos, this is about the world at large, but it also feels like it is a story about the magic that creates this war. I give this a 10 out of 10. Every second of this was brilliant. Every second of this was amazing. I mean, I'm sweating here because it's 1,000,000 degrees out here in Texas, but like even now, sitting in this 100-degree heat, I'm happy to wear my freaking Leon jacket and be hyped about Resident Evil 4 Remake. But what do you think? Are you excited for this? Was this a win? Was this a dud? Are you a giant Sony pony? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. Oh yeah, Spider-Man's coming to PC. Congrats to PC people. Heck yes, all the way around. Aces. No notes. 10 out of 10. Hell yes. Fuck, I'm just literally, I just want to stand here all day and yell about video games. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.